reaction or comments or ideas?
I just want to know where to get these great stories, especially, anything because we read books, but that's not the same thing. That's not what you're talking about.
So I do have in the handout, which I will make available electronically, I do have a number of sources. And I forgot to bring over one, but on that table there is a book on Darwin's life. And I encourage you to look at it because the author is doing multiple texts in there. And I really like the way that, I forget who's the author?
Peter Sis.
Yeah. And so Sis has what he believes, and drawn from personal diaries, what Darwin was afraid to speak because he thought he would be killed when he told what he was, the edge of his inquiry. And that's what he was saying in public, and it has, historical kind of documents and things. So you got these multiple texts that are going on. And I've really been fascinated with some picture books because many of them do have these multiple texts. And those are great stories.
The other thing, we do have like the different cultural Cinderella stories, that type of thing that's definitely out there. The other thing that I was thinking about, and I was going to just share it in the letter, but I'll share it with the group, is I just finished a history course where we went out to southern Maryland and went to the Piscataway area, traditional Piscataway homes, and then we met with two Piscataway natives, one of which is descended all the way back. His grandfather, 15 times removed, I think, was baptized by Father Andrew White when he first came. And we were talking about the differences between their culture, which they keep very, very, very private, and how we can teach the real history of Maryland in our public schools. Because his council of elders, they never want to write anything down because that's not what they do. That's not part of their culture and the oral tradition. And he said, but he also admitted himself that one of his grandmother's stories is gone. Everyone now forgets it. And so to use the power of technology, I said, if you recorded yourself on YouTube, I could guarantee you that most of the state of Maryland in 4th grade that study Native Americans would have their students, or at least in our area, because where my school is used to be Piscataway territory, so that they can hear the authentic stories in the format that you want it delivered in. And he said he'd go back to his tribe and talk about it.
I'll help you videotape it.
So it'd be really cool. But it was so important to him that it had to be oral, and it had to be, they're very protective. They don't want just anybody telling their stories either. So it had to serve all of those purposes. But it's such a shame that because of this strictness, they're disappearing. So.
We still have to have our students write formally. They have to be able to pass the AP exam. They have to be able to write for their majors and for their professions. I mean, obviously it's our dream as a teacher to have our formal writing have the kind of vitality that this piece had. Just because it doesn't so often, does that mean that we should stop teaching it? Because that really does them a disservice if they don't have that, right? For their real lives.
Yeah, that's a good inquiry question. Part of the compromise I would bring to that is that I think she's vitalized around this. And I think if she had a requirement to do some type of academic writing, it could come out of this. That's something about, so what does EMT, how could you make EMT better? What's the best training for the kind of doctor she wants to be? And she's got these, what do you call them, these kind of generative opposites going on there. How do you stay on land? How do you get in the water? She's got these great energizing, she's got the impulsion. And so I think that she could accept some constraint, some container, so that they said, here's the kind of writing that doctors do that advance their practice. Would you prepare an article that would go in the journal of that? So I think there's that kind of energy, and if it is a legitimate publication, that bridge can be made. But how much of what it has to do can be justified? That's part of the issue.
I mean, I think you asked an amazing question that we struggle with all the time at a lot of different levels. I think that's what makes the writing project so great. Who doesn't have the struggle that you just asked? How do we incorporate things like this in Corey's classroom and still get them ready for the MSA? How do we get them in my classroom to do things like this and still get them ready for AP? How in Joseph's class does he allow them to do this and still prepare them to be teachers at the same time? And it's every single level there. And I love Joseph's answer because it's so rare to hear him say something like that. He said, it's a good question, you know? And we don't always know the answers, and I think Joseph articulated very well that something can come out of this that is very academic. And to me, it's working from the bottom and going with what is it that interests you, and then pulling from that, now where are we going to go with it? Rather than, so often we say, tell me what it's like to be an EMT, and you get nothing, you know.
It's something copied off the web.
Exactly. But if you start them, again, it's starting from the bottom and then bringing them up to this level, rather than starting them from the top and pulling them down. And I think there's a happy medium there somewhere. And I think that's what we struggle with each and every day and every month and every year, is how do we do this? I know I do. I know that it's so difficult to get them to write for The Wire and then to get them to write about Hamlet.